your nation station across the country.
Ramadan is a blessed month that brings us close to Allah, brings us close to ourselves, brings us close to our families, brings us close to our communities. Allow us this Ramadan to take you through a special journey that will bring you as close as ever to your reality. Join Hatem Al-Abdussalam with engineer Muhammad Farouk in Come Close.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Master of the Day of Judgment. And peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Dear listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to your nation station 90.4 FM in your program Come Close with me Hatem Al-Abdussalam, and joining me is my brother Engineer Muhammad Farouk. Assalamu alaikum Muhammad.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you today?
Wonderful. What about you?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I hope you're ready for round 3.
Inshallah.
As you know, dear listeners, that we have started a series of 4 episodes, and this is the third one. The series is about marriage relationships. As we started in the first day on Sunday, we spoke about marriage disputes. And we went through the different types of marriage disputes and how to get out of them. And then the second episode, we spoke about domestic violence, which was yesterday. And we invited Miss Maimuna As-Sulaimani, who is a lawyer, certified lawyer, to tell us what the Omani law states in terms of domestic violence. And today, inshallah, we're going to talk about or continue the journey with yet another controversial and difficult topic, which is called relationship. And we'll seal the deal tomorrow, inshallah, with the final episode in this series, which is divorce. And we're going to cover all aspects in terms of divorce, the types and what happens and the solutions and consequences of divorce. Right. So today, inshallah, just to let you know that this is a live show and the lines are open, and without your support and sharing your experiences in this topic, we won't be able to make it to the end, because as we told you previously that me and Brother Muhammad are not experts in this, and I don't think anyone is expert in this area because it's an emotional area, and we need your support and guidance when it comes to sharing the stories of this topic. The number to call is 2460 2058, 2460 2058. The show is repeated in the evening from 9 till 10, and tomorrow morning it is repeated again from 5 till 6 at Fajr time. We also, for those who have missed both timings of the show, they can still continue and watch the show on our YouTube channel called Guidance. The YouTube channel is called Guidance. All previous episodes, you're going to find them on this YouTube channel. We also have a Facebook page that is called Life As It Is. You'll find links of the show and the previous shows that were done in the previous years. We also have a website that you can go and see all our work since 2012 in terms of the radio shows. The website is called voiceoman.com. Voiceoman.com, that's a one word. So, as you know, Muhammad, today's topic is a little bit sensitive.
Yeah, it is.
And it needs a lot of guts and strength and courage to talk about.
It's a difficult topic.
It's a difficult topic. So what I decided is that I'm going to throw the ball on your court and you do all the talking and I'll do all the listening.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me. So I'm in the hot chair, huh?
Yes. Okay. So today we're talking about cold relationship. And this is in the terms of marriage. Right. What happens in the household when the relationship loses the spark. And just to comfort all our listeners that this is not a special phenomena where it happens to some people and it doesn't happen to the rest. Well, it happens, the good news is that it happens to everyone, and it's a normal gradual cycle of marriage. And if it is not treated at the right time with the right remedies, then it will continue and might end up in divorce or severe disagreement between the couples. And today we want to take you through the entire cycle. What exactly does it mean? The types of cold relationship, what happens, when do they happen, and the solutions as well. So Muhammad, to start off, what is a cold relationship?
Okay, it is basically the opposite of when you feel some certain kind of a warmth, you feel appreciated, respected, loved, and cherished. So this is like the opposite of it. When things have just died, you've become disengaged, you're a bit disillusioned, you're confused, you don't know whose fault it was or what to do about it. So any relationship, especially the one between two spouses, it's based on intimacy, whether it's physical intimacy or emotional or combination of both. Generally, it's emotional, and then the second phase of that, or second component which complements it, is the physical one. So in an intimate relation, basically, you can truly be with yourself. You can truly be yourself with the one that you respect, and you get respect in return. It's not like a one-way road. And unfortunately, what happens is a lot of people don't even realize that they're losing, like you said, the spark. Okay, and the relationship keeps on getting cold, and these people, they either separate or they get divorced even without discussing this at length or trying to get some kind of help.
Yes.
And we need to understand that a stone cold, heartless relationship generally converts into a toxic one. So, for example, what might have started as a detachment or unfeeling or disengagement can actually lead the couple towards separation.
And aggression.
And in extreme cases, divorce.
Yes. And even beyond divorce, hate.
Yeah, even post-divorce hate, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, for sure, there are different types of cold relationships.
Exactly.
And they are segregated into three main elements. The verbal, the emotional, and the physical.
Right.
And we start with the verbal.
Exactly.
When couples, at the beginning of their marriage, they enjoy talking to one another. It's like my best companion, my best friend, you are my soulmate, and you just can't get enough of talking to one another. You want to talk all day long. Even sometimes you hear parents who have children who are about to get married and they are in the engagements phase. They ask them, what do you talk to your wife to be all day long on the phone? And they can't seem to understand, because they have reached to a level where there is not much to talk about. Yeah. So when they see the young ones talking on the phone for hours, they are surprised, what are you talking about? And the interest is very high between the couples, where you want to know what time they woke up, you want to know what they ate today, where they went, what are they dressing up today, and so on. Because everything about that person becomes so interesting. But when you start losing that spark, the speech or the verbal communication between you and your spouse becomes very formal.
Yeah.
What time are you coming back? 6 o'clock. Would you like to have dinner? Chicken biryani. Where are we going this weekend? Muscat Mall to see the penguins, and so on. It's a direct, dry answer where it's very formal, and you can't feel intimacy, you can't feel love, you can't feel that emotion where you enjoy talking to that person. It is as if you're talking to a different person, not the same person that you knew 20 years ago.
Yeah, and the worst thing is sometimes the conversations get very abusive, to the point that each time you open your mouth, you end up getting insulted.
Yes.
And this leads to fights as well. But generally, it's the fear that, okay, the minute I say something to my husband, he's going to snap back at me. Or the husband saying, oh, even if I say something nicely, it'll be taken in the wrong way and out of context, and I'll be blamed for it.
And if you notice, Muhammad, in the early stages of a marriage, where you have a positive thinking towards your spouse, so even if they say something wrong, you know that no one is perfect, and maybe they did not mean to offend you in any way. They did not mean it in a bad way, so you don't get really offended. But when you are in a very cold relationship, everything has a meaning. Every single word that you say has a negative impact on the other person. So you need to think twice before you say anything.
Exactly.
And that leads to withdrawing from saying anything.
Exactly.
Which is not a very healthy phenomenon.
Yeah, because see, what happens is when you're in the initial orientation phase, like you said, you just want to know everything about the other person, and your mindset is positive. But once you get married and let's say you start having disputes and, fights once in a while, when you're angry, you say things that leave a permanent scar on the other spouse. So even if you say sorry and you make up, next time there's a conversation initiated from your side, the spouse will still be thinking, does he really mean this or not? But wait a minute, just a couple of days ago he said you're like this and this and this, and now he's saying the opposite. I don't think he means that. So there'll be an element of mistrust, and it will be reflected in the communication.
Now the thing about the verbal communication, Muhammad, it's a two-edged sword, because if you say something and the other party receives it in a wrong way, then you're doomed.
Exactly. Communication is different than speaking.
Yes. And if you don't say something and you keep it inside your heart, sooner or later it's going to explode into tons of words. Only one word that you tried to conceal and not say it, and you kept it to yourself, after a few months, with the pressure, it accumulates and you have tons of words, very harsh words to say. So
and one way could be like, for example, you say something and the spouse just ignores you. They just don't want to answer you.
Yes.
Or they answer you in a rude way, or they answer with another question.
Yes.
To the point where you're like, oh, it's just useless talking, just forget about it.
And the thing about the verbal communication between the couples, it has to be pure, in the sense that it is from the heart to the heart. It is not wrapped into traditional elements, religious elements, and friends elements, your parents' point of view. No, it should be purely from your heart to the heart of your spouse.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that when you have this constructive conversation or discussion with your spouse, never have this other hat where you're wearing behind your mind saying that, you know what, she's a woman and I am a man, she shouldn't talk to me this way. Because the Prophet ﷺ, his wives used to raise their voice on the Prophet. They used to have arguments. And even the companions, the strong companions like Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, his wife used to raise her voice on him. So there is nothing muscular about,
how dare you talk
to me like that. It has to be the main ingredient for this, Muhammad, is respect.
Yeah.
There should be a level of respect between you two, and allow someone to speak, and you become a very good listener, and then you say what you have to say, but do it in a very polite way, in a way that it shows you care. It is not like an interrogation.
Yeah.
And sometimes if it sounds like an interrogation, then this person for the last 20 years, how good he is, so do not judge him on that moment.
Exactly.
Because emotions kick in.
Exactly.
And we move on to the second element or second type of cold relationship. But before that, we would like to welcome all our listeners who have just joined us on the show. This is a live show, Come Close, with me, Hatem Al Abdussalam, and engineer Muhammad Farouk. And today we're continuing the series of the 4 topics that we promised to talk about. The first one was on Sunday, was about marriage dispute. And yesterday was about domestic violence, and today is the killer when we're talking about cold relationship, and tomorrow we're sealing the deal with divorce. The numbers to call, my dear listeners, is 2460 2058, 2460 2058, and the show is not complete without your contribution and your experiences in this topic. Now, emotions, Muhammad.
Yeah.
What do we mean by emotions?
See, when we talk about...
Just hold on, I think we have a call.
Oh, wonderful.
Let us take the call and then we continue.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
I think she's trying to connect.
I think...
How are you, brother? I'm Mazhar Mahmoud with you.
How are you, brother Mazhar?
Alhamdulillah, good. As you initiated, the subject is very, very sensitive.
Yes.
Just I want to highlight one thing. If you just remember about 30, 40 years before, our parents and grandparents, we never used to hear, means I'm talking about if you take percent of divorce was very, very nominal. Once in blue moon, you will hear that, oh, somebody got divorced. It was a really shocking news
Yes.
in the families.
Yes.
Today it has become divorce. Yeah, divorce. I believe one of the reason is probably the parents, they brought up the male child or girl child. They think that, okay, especially girl child, they think that, okay, my daughter is well educated, no issues. If he divorce, she can manage her life. No issues. She will not care. But the main impact goes to children.
Yes.
How children will suffer.
Yes.
That parents, usually the couple never think. In angry, they might get separate, whatever the reason. But period of time, the children is going to suffer, and that children become wild most of the time. Very few times they become very soft because they don't get both father and mother love. They might miss father or mother.
Yes. Thank you very much, Brother Mazhar. Thank you very much. A very good point, but we're not going to get into details of divorce because
leave it
that
for
is
tomorrow,
going
inshallah.
our topic for tomorrow. I just want to comment one thing on what Brother Mazhar said, is that the previous generation, 30, 40 years back, they didn't have divorce as common as it is now. But it doesn't mean that they didn't have cold relationship.
Yeah.
They had problems and they had cold relationships.
They were good at hiding it.
And they were very good at hiding, and they were extremely cold than any other couple in today's world. But the only difference between us and them, they cherished this contract, which is marriage. So they hold on to this contract till the end, where it is, there is no other way out except divorce. Then they would consider. But for us now, it has become a very easy way out. It's very easy to separate from your spouse. We'll get into that in details tomorrow, inshallah. Now, emotions.
Yeah. See, to summarize the emotional cold relationships, let's just revisit the same ayah which we did in the previous couple of shows. That's in Quran chapter 30, verse 21. And of his signs is that he created for you from yourself mates, and so that you may find tranquility in them, and he placed between you affection and mercy. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who give thought. So if in a relationship tranquility is gone, affection is void, there is no affection left, or it's deteriorating, and there is a lack of mercy.
Yes.
This all falls under the umbrella of emotional.
Yes.
And the second stage could be verbal, like we discussed already, that you might stop talking, or you might start talking in a different way, in more anger, more rage, and then this will eventually lead us towards the next phase.
I think when it comes to emotion, it is I would say segregated into two things: emotions verbally and emotions physically. Verbally is the kind words that you say to a spouse,
and then you stop saying them. Yeah.
To reflect their emotions. When you used to call your wife sweetheart, and now you call her Fatma, can you get me a glass of water? Oh, Flan, Khadija, can you get me this? where that spark disappears, because that even in the words there is no emotions.
Yeah.
When you used to say, when you see her coming, oh, you are coming back from work and you see her, you said, oh, my day has just started, and you are my sun and my moon, and I can't breathe without you, and I can't sleep, and so on. All these kind words, you meant it from the heart, and you are trying to impress her maybe at that time. And now you stopped. You don't
Exactly.
express yourself. You would express towards your friends and tell them you love them, you love your team, Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Yeah.
But you don't express
Exactly.
verbally the emotions that you have. And you feel shy, very shy, to say to your wife that, you know what, I'm crazy about you, or I love you. But in terms of physical, is the looks, the way you look at her, the way you hold her hand, the way you tap on her shoulder, and the other stuff. I'm fasting. I don't want to continue with the other stuff. You all know what I'm talking about. But all of this create an emotion, because our bodies are energy. And when there is a positive energy, it transfers to the next body immediately. And when there is a negative energy from one side, it transfers to the other party as well. So sometimes, without even saying a word, just looking at your spouse into their eye and telling them that you love them so much without saying a single word means a lot.
Right.
So I don't need to teach you all what you need to do, because you're all experts out there.
Yeah, but you're just reminding them.
I'm just reminding you, and you know what I'm talking about.
So basically what you're saying is it's a combination of words and actions as well.
Yes. And the third type is the physical.
Yeah.
Which is the intercourse. And I know this might be a very sensitive topic where people don't want to talk about, but the main pillar of a marriage and the main reason for people to get married is to get a proper lawful channel to release their desires. And if these desires, which vary from one person to another, are not released in the proper channels, they might go to a wrong channel, or they might backfire negatively towards a spouse. So they need to be a continuous revival of this relationship in the bedroom between the husband and the wife. And I should not teach you this. I should not say what I'm saying at this point of time, but you all know your needs, and every couple has their own needs. Couples don't need to live together as a brother and a sister.
Yeah.
Let us take this call. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you?
Brother Ahmed, how's everything?
Not bad, not bad. I don't know. Sometimes I don't hear you clearly. I don't know what's happening.
Okay, we can hear you, Ahmed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
It's very clear.
Okay. I just want to interject with maybe 2 points. First of all, that we should have the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the role model in terms of establishing very warm relationship with his wife. And I don't know whether you mentioned this, but the story between the Prophet Muhammad and his wife Aisha is a great evidence for the real meaning of romantic relationship.
Yes.
The Prophet Muhammad used to eat from the same or the remaining food of Sayyidah Aisha. And also he used to drink from the same place that she used to drink. So that shows how the level of affection and love and romance they used to have together. And I also want to emphasize the idea of the role of culture. And maybe I mentioned this yesterday, but in some cultures, unfortunately, there's this kind of propagation for love should be at a certain age and then should be ended. I don't know, but I've seen a lot of couples, when they get to a certain age, they think that, it is not appropriate to share emotions, especially in public. I give you an example, and I'm sure you know these examples.
Yes.
Some people tend to call their partners names like the Ahl or the family.
Al-Ahl, Awlad.
And you know what is funny?
Yes.
In a sad way, they tend to follow that phrase, the ahal or the relative or the family, with another disgusting to me, to be honest, phrase.
Yes.
May Allah honor you. You know, as of the partner or the wife, it's something that you should ashamed of.
How do you say it in Arabic?
Ahmed,
how do you say it in Arabic?
Yeah.
How do you say it in How do you say it in Arabic?
Karamakallah.
When they mention the name of the wife. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah, something like it's just something disgusting that you're having with you. You know, I'm very ashamed of having my wife with me. She brings a kind of shame or it's just unbelievable. And you see this also among a lot of educated people. I mean, I would understand maybe people who didn't have education and didn't have knowledge. But, when you sit with a lot of people who are educated and they know that this is not correct, they do practice it. And it becomes a normal thing. It becomes the norms of the society. And if you don't do it, if you try to challenge it, then you're in trouble. People calling you as somebody who is, open-minded or somebody who is trying to invade the culture. Although the Islamic teaching is saying the opposite, that you should show that affection to your partner all the time.
Exactly.
There's no limit in terms of age, regardless of your culture. I mean, I'm not saying that we should change the culture. If there's something good, we should keep it and maintain.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's something that it clashes with our Islamic and religious principles, then we have to do something about it. We need to educate people. And I think your program is a platform, for people to get educated about all these social issues and problems that we face in the society. Mm-hmm. We're not here to criticize the society, but it's time to just say something that needs to be changed so that we can have a beautiful life.
Well said, Ahmed. Well said. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Thank you very much.
Okay. You take care, guys.
You
too. Thanks for your call, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Take care. Take it easy. Thank you very much, Ahmed, calling all the way from the United States and sharing
after Fajr time.
After Fajr time, yes, he's staying awake just to call on the show. Thank you for your loyalty and dedication, Ahmed. So Ahmed mentioned very important points. Mm-hmm. We can move on now, but we want to remind our listeners that they can call us on the show on our numbers 24 60 20 58, 24 60 20 58, and the lines are open. So we move on to the next element, Muhammad, of the show, which is the signs of a cold relationship.
Okay, see, the three core things are the same as per the ayah: tranquility, affection, and mercy. Mm-hmm. But if you go and move on to the secondary things, which are more visible, this could be like you're no longer communicating with each other, you're not interacting with each other. When you do, you end up in a dispute very quick. You start fighting and bickering. You don't spend time together. You prefer to be with your friends outside. Most of the time you're even sleeping alone in the same house. And, even you have tried to do compromises, still you're not getting any response from the other spouse. You feel like your self-esteem is hurt, is damaged, because whenever you try to say something, either the spouse finds a fault in it, or, they start arguing with it. If you do something, even with good intentions, it's taken the wrong way.
Yes.
Okay. Certain cases you find yourself that you just want to be alone, you're depressed, sometimes you cry, and you're a very social person, but you start to distance yourself from the family, from your friends, and you keep on being defensive. No, guys, everything is fine, we're wonderful, things of that nature. Yes. And the most dangerous part, you start fantasizing about leaving your partner and being with someone else.
Yes.
And you can't remember what was anything good or positive when you guys got married. or why you got married. Those things are just...
Or you start regretting why you got married.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I have also a few points where there are signs when, especially the men, they spend a lot of time out of the house.
Yeah.
Then that's an indication that something is wrong. When each couple is isolated by themselves, so they are very busy with their smartphones or watching the TV alone, or each one of them is taking a side,
or they're not seen together in public.
They're not seen together in public. And when they speak formal, when they speak formally, then that's another one. And no intimacy is also another one.
Yeah.
I think we need to take a short break, and then we'll continue with
Inshallah.
the signs, inshallah, after the break.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to your show Come Close with me, Hatem Al-Absalam, and engineer Muhammad Farouk. And today we're talking about a very sensitive topic to all of you, which is called relationship in a marriage. And we've covered the signs of a cold relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And now we move on to the next element, which is why does it happen?
Exactly. There are a lot of different factors. We'll try to cover some of them, and
sure.
The listeners are welcome to call in and add to the list. First thing could be that once they get married, they start comparing themselves to their exes. Like, for example, the boy might have had
if they had a previous relationship.
Yeah, previous relationship. Could be a marriage, could be outside of marriage, whatever that might be. So, and then a feeling of, wait a minute, I got the short end of the stick. Or wait a minute, I didn't think it was going to be like this. Or wait a minute, I think the other one was better.
So getting into marriage with no expectation.
Yeah.
You don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And maybe this also, what plays a big role is the education part, where you don't get a mentor, someone to talk to explain to you the value of a marriage, why you're getting married, the reasons. So you're getting married for the wrong reasons. And when those reasons are not fulfilled, then you're disappointed.
Yeah.
And you tend to be very cold, or you're looking for an escape from this relationship.
And at the other end, as an example, if you have never met the other person, and then you find out there is huge incompatibility between...
Maybe it was selected by someone else. He was selected by someone else, and you've never met before the day of the marriage.
Exactly. So that could be a shock. They might have annoying habits. You just can't get along. And the feeling of not knowing what to do next or who to talk to, this can kind of push you back into depression and result in cold relationship. Can be from one spouse, can be from both parties.
Yes. And we failed to mention this in the beginning, Muhammad, that the cold relationship, there are two types. One, it is from both parties. Both of them are cold to one another.
Yeah.
And the second type is that only one party is cold and the other party is still trying and trying continuously to bring back the spark into the relationship.
Yeah, and one more thing we need to understand, the dimming of the spark is natural. The trick here is how you maintain that perfect equilibrium.
Yes.
Because, every day in our life cannot be like our honeymoon period. This is reality.
Yes.
Okay. So the time we used to spend together, now we have to spend some of that time on children.
Yes.
This is natural progression of life. So just like as we grow old, we adjust our habits, our food habits, our diet, nutrition, exercise, sleeping patterns. This is also something that we need to adjust to. And if we're adamant and we don't accept this fact, then the problem's are going to be very visible and very quick.
Yes.
Okay. And so you have to invest in this thing.
One of also the elements that contribute to a cold relationship is gaining weight.
Yeah.
When spouses, they fail to take care of their health and they go oversize, this creates a negative reaction between them, where you had an image of this perfect person, and then
all of a sudden they just let it go.
You no longer care how you look,
or they don't dress up properly.
Yes.
Or they don't smell properly,
and the worst thing is that we are surrounded by media and social media, and you find a lot of competition in terms of images, videos, celebrities, and people who act perfect. And then you tend, psychologically compare with what you have back home, which is your spouse. So you start thinking that, maybe I didn't get the perfect deal. And this is dangerous. This is toxic, because you have to be aware that you are married to a person, not flesh.
Not to an object. Yeah, exactly.
So a person is the looks, the words, the emotions, the character, the personality, and everything else, and not only the looks.
See, this brings us to the point that, and Islam provides us guidance that if we have married for the wrong reason, for example, if we just married because so and so looked very nice in high heels, as an example, then obviously their dreams will be shattered very quickly.
Yes.
She's not going to stay the way she is. Neither will you.
Yes.
Okay.
And men change faster
exactly.
than women. We're not saying here that it's only about women. We're saying also about guys who stop taking care of themselves.
Exactly.
They don't smell good. They don't dress up. They don't go to the barber shop.
This is not the definition of getting, friendly with someone. And, initially you were putting in all that effort. So, the joke goes that the hair start to grow where they're not supposed to grow and gravity takes over. But, I'm not saying that force your spouse to spend 4 hours a day in a gym, but at least be presentable, at least maintain yourself.
Definitely. So this is why it happens, right? Now, when do they happen? Okay. When does a cold relationship kick in?
Okay, this is interesting, like we were discussing initially, that if there's a mismatch from day one, for whatever reason, intentional lying or just simple miscommunication, then it's just going to kick in immediately.
Yes, and I know a few couples where they came back from the honeymoon in separate planes.
Yikes.
And it just ended there because the shock was too much to bear. And I would think, and I might be wrong, that might be a healthy phenomenon, that it ended at that point of time instead of waiting until they have kids, they're committed and they're stuck and khalas. I know there is a lot of elements involved, like reputation, what will the family say, what will the community say, and so on, blah, blah, blah. We spend a lot of money on the wedding, but I think it's better to resolve it at that point, at an early stage, before even involving other lives in the marriage.
I agree with you, and we'll discuss this tomorrow, inshallah, that divorce can be, and it is a blessing in disguise. There's on the surface, there's not much attractive about it, but it's a great escape, as a last resort. But scenarios like these, the case that you described where they came back on separate planes, this makes it very difficult when it comes to counseling people, because if somebody asks you, okay, at what point should I consider divorce? So every case is unique.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not one size does not fit all. This is the thing. So one of the reasons is that a spouse can lose interest in the other one, and the other one is generally our lives become so much of a copy paste routine that generally we tend to lose interest in most things, spiritually, emotionally, and even physically, and this impact our interactions with our spouses as well.
And maybe it starts, Muhammad, with the firstborn, where attention is suddenly redirected to someone else, and this is a right for both. For both the parents, it's a right to love the baby, to cater for the needs, to spend time, to spend effort, but it does not justify neglecting the other party. And then when it starts being continuous pregnancy, one after the other, every single year, then you take intimacy and throw it out of the window. You take time out with the spouse alone, just going for dinner, you throw it out of the window.
Priorities change.
watching TV together, you throw it out the window. You know, just holding hands, there will be like 4 hands holding each other, not only 2 hands. So there are a lot of elements that are involved when children
and see, we need to understand it that, you know, people might say, okay, why is it even there? But think about it. You cannot, as an example, wear the same clothes all the time throughout your life. Okay, you cannot eat the same food every single day. Okay, so couples need to find out what they need to do different, but they need to do it together. The problem is the undercurrent is that spouses, they try to please each other and they stop taking each other for granted. They just stop pleasing each other. Yes. And they even stop trying. They say, what's the use? You know, I cook the food and he still didn't say it's nice. Or he still complained about too much salt. So heck, whatever it is, I'll just give it to him tomorrow. I don't care. I don't have to try it.
I think we need, it's fair to mention that men are more cold than women when it comes to relationships and intimacy.
Mm-hmm. Because women are more emotional men in general.
Might be very active physically in terms of intimacy. They will never be cold. Mm-hmm. It's very rare to find men who are semi-cold in the intimacy department. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to verbal, it comes to emotion, in general, men are very cold. And we need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
there's a deficit. Yeah.
At the same time, a man is like a huge baby. You know, you can control it whatever direction you want. So for a wife, she can control the husband in terms of emotions, in terms of getting the words out of him, you know, squeezing the word out of him. Mm-hmm. But effort needs to be put.
Exactly.
And that if he was able to do it before getting married to you, when you first met, then for sure you can get the words out of him again. Mm-hmm. But you need to put the effort.
Exactly.
But normally what happens is when the wife sees the husband being very cold, and then automatically it affects her and she becomes very cold, and they both continue in the same cycle, and nobody says anything about it. Only after 40 years they realize that, you know what, all the kids are at college or they are married and we are all alone in this house, and I think it's about time to go separate ways.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to reach to that level. Mm-hmm. Now the question to be posed or to be asked, why do we accept such a relationship to continue until that level?
Exactly. This is very important. The first and foremost reason which you'll get in almost all societies and all lands in the world is for the sake of children.
Yes.
And it's a legitimate reply also.
Yes.
It's not that it's unreasonable.
Because we care about our children, their well-being, and they are our responsibility, and we don't want to take decisions that might affect them.
Yeah. So on. We look at it as a way of sacrificing for the betterment of our next generation. The next one is fear of
Just hold on. Hold your horses, man. Uh-huh. I just want to mention about this sacrificing thing, because at the end of the day, you might not be a compatible couple happily living together, and that misery would be transferred to the children automatically.
Yes.
You might be in separate ways, but very good parents. Mm-hmm. And you share the love with the children.
Exactly.
So if the relationship does not work, or there is no hope for that relationship, there is no such a thing as sacrifice for the children.
Agreed.
Because you're harming the children more than, adding any value to their lives.
Exactly. But to make the decision like when to call it quits, this is always a tough proposition. It's not very clear.
Yes, and of course our religion does not promote. Yes, our religion does not promote for us to go to that extreme.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are looking for ways and means and family members counseling and friends and neighbors and cats and dogs and everything else.
Yeah. No, I agree. The kids, they deserve a warmly house, a loving house, a normal house. No point in making them go through a cold setup for 20 plus years, And
one of the reasons, Muhammad, we accept a cold relationship is the fear to hurt the other person. So for example, if it comes to intimacy, it's been a month, you haven't touched one another, and you're living like a brother and sister. you don't want to hurt the feelings of your partner, saying, you know what, it's not acceptable like this. But it's better for you to speak up.
Communication
and say
is the key. Yeah.
your concerns, because if you don't say your concerns, either you're going to tell it to someone else, a total stranger, or you're going to react very negatively. You're going to be hot-tempered, you're going to be very rude, and you're going to be a hating person. You will spend more time out of the house. So you have already established this relationship with your spouse. There is trust, there is honesty. So I think it is the right of the spouse also to know how you really feel.
Exactly.
And not hide your feelings.
Exactly, yeah. The next factor is the fear of financial insecurity. Okay, I'm in a deadlocked relationship, it's pretty cold, but what's the alternative? At least we have food on the table, he's taking care of the kids, he's a okay father, right? So I
can't afford to start all over again.
Exactly. I don't want to go through the hassle of starting everything again.
Or maybe go to court and compensation and so on.
Yeah. So don't rock the boat. Just let things go the way they are. Okay. And another one is not wanting to be alone. And unfortunately, in our society, it's very tough to retie the knot. If God forbid you're divorced.
Yes.
And it makes
especially for the sisters.
Yeah, and it makes it double whammy if you have children. They call them extra baggage. This is the term used for it, unfortunately. So the more we are away from the teachings of Quran and Sunnah, the more we are suffering even on an individual level as a family unit, as a husband and wife, we are suffering more. And we see examples that the companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, men and women, almost nobody was ever alone.
Yeah, they always had a companion.
If a spouse passed away, they were married again. If he passed away, they were married again. If there was a divorce, both of them were married again.
Yes.
So
no one was ever single.
Exactly. Nobody left anybody alone. In our times, and in different cultures, even where I come from, where you come from, it's still a big stigma, and nobody wants to touch this. Nobody wants to disturb the cultural norms.
And people have this wrong misconception that if someone went through a divorce,
whether they're bad people.
Yeah, whether he's a man or a woman, they are not bad people. They're just not compatible with one another.
Yeah.
And even when they go and propose for someone else, you see this question: what was the reason you were divorced?
What happened? Yeah, what
happened? That is none of your concern, because it is something.
Why we cannot say she was a wonderful person, however we were different.
Yes.
And just put an end to it. Instead of getting into nitty-gritty details and, just bringing back all those negative memories back.
As per the companion who said to the Prophet, peace be upon him, when she was asked why she wants to divorce from her husband, she said, my husband is a better believer without me.
Yeah,
when he's without me.
There.
So she said a
That's
very
an
strong statement.
Way, in a very
she
intellectual
didn't say
manner.
anything negative, but it shows that, we just can't be together.
Can't get along, yeah.
So the solutions, Muhammad.
Okay, well, we'll try to classify them real quick because time is running short.
Yes.
One would be under the umbrella of supplicate, communicate, and get counsel. Okay. Obviously, we have to make dua.
Yes.
Okay. So our hearts turn towards each other and our hearts become soft towards each other.
Yes.
Okay. We have to communicate with each other, and we need to read each other's faces and body languages. Like there's a very
needs.
Exactly. There's a very nice little story, if you want to call it, that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he asked mother of the believers, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, I know well when you are pleased or angry with me. And Aisha replied, how do you know that? He said, peace be upon him, when you are pleased with me, you swear by saying, by the God of Muhammad. But when you are angry, you swear by saying, by the God of Abraham.
Subhanallah.
And she said, you are right, I don't mention your name at that time.
Subhanallah.
I mean, this is beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, yani how she's acting in that particular state of mind, and how sensitive and deep he is.
Yes.
So this communication happened without words. But at the same time, we have to be careful. Like Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said that he described the one who discloses his wife's affairs to others as amongst the worst of people. Like you mentioned, pre-divorce or post-divorce, no need to get into great details. And counseling, we've already talked about it in our number of previous episodes as well. I really wish and pray that our imams, every single imam in masjid, is a counselor.
Subhanallah.
This would be wonderful. It will solve so many issues before they snowball into a monster.
Yes.
Okay.
My way of the solution, Muhammad, is two.
Mm-hmm.
2 ways. First is the internal,
Mm-hmm.
and the second one is the external.
Okay.
The internal is before you point the finger towards your spouse, fix yourself.
Yeah.
See where are the rooms of improvement that you can change.
And that's both for husband and wife. Don't sit there and expect the other to change themselves.
No, you start, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the condition of a nation until they change what is within themselves.
Exactly.
So the change starts with us.
Exactly.
If you don't like something in your spouse, ask yourself, what did I do wrong? And where can I change? Where can I make an improvement? This is the internal change. And then the external change is put the effort, the plan. What am I going to do? I'm going to establish a communication with my spouse. I'm going to spend more time with them. I'm going to have quality time with them without the children. I'm going to travel. I'm going to buy her a gift. I'm going to do this and that and this and that. So you have like a checklist.
Exactly.
Of the things that you intend to do. And if you know that certain things that your spouse is not capable of, then you have this understanding, this flexibility, this compromise that, okay, these are the capabilities of my spouse, and we can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
I'm going to add one more solution, which is a taboo and which people don't want to hear, but I'm just going to add it, which is polygamy. Most of the people think that polygamy is a destroyer for a family, but it is meant to be something that will repair a marriage. And a few positive cases of polygamy that helped the first house and the second house instead of destroying it. While many of the brothers who get into polygamy, who don't know the rights of the first house and the second house, they tend to do the wrong things, which qualified a bad reputation for polygamy.
Yeah.
So if the spark has disappeared in a marriage, then polygamy might be, and I'm saying it between two brackets, it is not for everyone. Guys, chill. So it is not for everyone. It might be a solution to bring back the spark into the marriage.
Exactly. All right. Next one is that you have to spend on her in terms of clothing, food, shelter, healthcare, holiday trips. If she wants some kind of education, she wants to enroll in a course, cooperate with her. Don't create distance. Just think about it. Prophet, peace be upon him, he said the entire world is full of resources, and among them the best resource is a righteous wife. So why you're not willing to make any kind of emotional or financial or any other kind of investment in her? Third one, last and not least, you need to love her, and you need to show her that you love her and respect her, and also her family.
Yes.
It is a huge thing. And that this goes for both of them. I'm saying her, and in terms of spend on her, yes, the brother has to do it. But the first one, supplication, communication, and counseling, this is for both. And the last one, which is love, respect for the spouses and the families, this is also for both spouses.
I find a phenomenon in our community, Muhammad, and maybe it is there in other communities, where when the couple is invited to the husband's side, they all go. When they are invited to the wife's side, only the wife goes. And this is a shameful act where it is not right, because if she respects your family, you are supposed to respect her family as well and honor them.
Exactly.
And just don't be one-sided guy, I'm sorry, my brothers, I am very harsh on you, but it is a reality.
This is reality, yeah.
We are very cold, we are very insensitive sometimes, and maybe some of our sisters are the same, but the majority are the brothers. And the Prophet ﷺ says, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyati."
Exactly.
Every one of you is a shepherd, and every shepherd is responsible for their flock. So take care of your families and establish a relationship with your spouses and families, and build a very strong family that will not lead to separate ways. And the separate ways that we're talking about is divorce, which we'll discuss into details tomorrow, inshallah.
Now, some of the other points we'll cover real quick because time is almost finishing, is that, help her with the household.
Yes.
Or help him with the household. Try to be playful with your wife. Share food with her. Cuddle with her. Try to sleep under the same cover. Don't let any dispute, linger. And as a final word, what I would like to say, and we missed out in the last episode,
yes,
that in the biggest economy of the world, which is not a Muslim land, every day 4 women die as a result of domestic violence.
Subhanallah.
Okay. Which is a euphemism for murders and assaults by husbands and boyfriends. That's approximately 1,500 women a year. So I would end by saying a supplication which is mentioned in Quran: Our Lord, grant us from our wives and our offsprings comfort for our eyes, and make us an example for the righteous.
Dear listeners, thank you very much for tuning in on our program 90.4 FM Come Close with me, Hatim Al-Salam and Muhammad Farouk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.